America's #1 sportsbook, and even as the NFL season comes to a close, you can still get in on the action with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets. Win or lose, the app is easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSFs to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And with that, let's welcome in Mary Kay Cabot. Happy New Year, Mary Kay.
Mary Kay.
Happy New Year, guys. How you doing?
Happy New Year, Mary Kay Cabot. I almost dropped a Mary. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Hey, Mary Kay, we were just talking about Jarvis Landry a little bit ago. And, with Elijah Moore out, we don't know what his status is. Do you think the Browns might call Jarvis? I mean, wouldn't he be a great fit?
Can you start a rumor for us?
What's going on?
You know what? I haven't heard anything like that. I don't see that happening. But, certainly he would bring a lot of energy and a lot of juice. Juice would bring plenty of fire to the program. So I haven't heard anything like that at all. Elijah's coming around. They probably don't have to play Elijah or Amari in this game. And, to kind of upset the apple cart at this point, I don't know if they'd be willing to do that.
Mm-hmm. So who do you look at to step up in the absence of Elijah Moore if he can't come back? Do they elevate like an Austin Watkins, or you think they just very comfortable with Tillman, Bell, and my boy Marquise, who's a really good player?
Well, first of all, let me apologize that I still have the Christmas tree up. But in the profession that I'm in, I'll be lucky to get this thing down by the draft in April. So, so forgive, I'm going to apologize in advance for that. But again, I think that Elijah and Amari should be probably good to go by the wild card game, I would think. I mean, you never really know with the concussion. That was very scary what Elijah went through. But they do need some other guys to step up. And one that I'm going to mention is Cedric Tillman. If you look at Cedric Tillman on Pro Football Focus, his quarterback rating when the ball is thrown to him is the quarterback's rating is 25.1. That's unacceptable. Joe Flacco in one game, 2 of his 3 interceptions were on passes intended for Cedric Tillman. In this past game, I think you may have seen that there was an issue with the route running in the end zone. Joe walked off the field kind of mad about that. So Cedric just needs to step up. He needs to step up and get really super focused and buckle down and do whatever it takes this week. Get whatever advice he can, study whatever film he can, and make sure that he is working overtime. And just when he thinks he worked enough, then he needs to work a little bit more. So he's one that he's just going to have to step up. I think David Bell is ready for a little bit more. So, he's one that, you could play some more in the slot and give him a few of Elijah's reps if you had to. So these are some of the guys that are going to have to step up. And as you mentioned, they do have Austin Watkins on the practice squad waiting to step in and help them out a little bit. And then, Marquise Goodwin just really hasn't been able to make much of an impact this season. And I just don't know if they can really think that he's going to come through and make an enormous impact moving forward.
Mary Kay, out of the players that you look at being out right now, Grant Delpit, I didn't even know he had surgery. I think Bernie was on and he said he had surgery, and I didn't even know he was that injured. And then you have Obo, who is kind of in like a no man's land, floating around between, getting a second opinion and whether or not he wanted to have surgery or see if they can get him back. Are there some names of some guys that can really, really, take advantage of this? Hopkins, Borges. Are there some guys that could really take advantage of this 17, 18 days if they do sit, for the Bengals and then be ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think, in the case of someone like a Dustin Hopkins, why would you put him out there against the Bengals? You're not going to do that. That's just not smart football. So hopefully in his case for the Browns, he will be back for the wild card round because they're going to need him. They are going to need him. I mean, just when you look at that Colts game alone, they needed every one of his 4 field goals to win that football game, and 3 of them were in the 50-plus range. Now, of course, they had P.J. Walker playing in that game from the end of the first quarter on, and life is a lot different now with Joe Flacco. He's throwing touchdown passes, and so your kicker becomes a little bit less imperative than he was in those weeks when they did not have an elite quarterback playing for them. Obo Okoronkwo, you mentioned him. He is still trying to make it back, and I don't know if he'll make it back for the wild card game, but as he moves forward, he is trying to come back and play despite a torn pec. He wants to be part of these playoffs. Grant Delpit, as you mentioned, underwent groin surgery, and he's going to miss this game, but he's not needed for this game. But if he can get back, and he's really trying to get back for a playoff game, that will really help them tremendously. Same thing with Anthony Blunt.
Do you expect anybody of significance to actually play in this game?
Yeah, I think they'll have some good guys playing in this game because they know that, first of all, you just can't rest everybody. They've got to play some people. And, I think that they are so deep that you have significant guys playing for you, at all levels of the defense that might not be your starters anyways. So, you're going to get some good performances from some backup guys, the Cam Mitchells, the Ronnie Hickmans, the DeAnthony Bells. Even though these guys aren't necessarily starters, I think you'll see some good football out of them.
I'd like to see Pierre Strong, see what he could do with a full slate of carries. Do you anticipate that he's going to get more action than normal?
Yes, I do. I think he will get more action. And I think that'll be good for him. It'll be a good tune-up for the playoffs because I think he's got, plenty to offer. And, the more reps that he gets, the more warmed up he'll be. So I think this is a good week to get Pierre out there and get him feeling very confident for that wild card game.
Mary Kay, when you look at the quarterback situation, do you think that they say that they're resting Joe Flacco for this game? Do they split the count between Jeff Driscoll and Phil, or does one get more than the other?
It's a good question, and we haven't been out there yet for practice this week. That'll happen tomorrow. But yeah, I could see those guys splitting time. I could even see perhaps Jeff Driscoll getting the start just to see what he can do and, get him tuned up a little bit. Alex Van Pelt knows him very well. He knows what he's capable of. They were together in Cincinnati in 2018. Jeff Driscoll started 5 games that year for the Bengals. So Alex knows exactly what he's going to get from Jeff Driscoll. And who knows, he might get the start in this game.
I was just about to say that, Mary Kay. I would almost feel, and it's crazy to say this because P.J. Walker has beaten some teams, but I would lean towards, if something happened to Flacco, Jeff Driscoll being the quarterback. He can still run just as well as P.J. Walker, and he's not a turnover machine. I would like to see him play well in this game, and if something happens to Flacco, hey, we'll roll with Jeff Driscoll.
Well, that has been the problem with P.J. Walker. Even though he gave the Browns a lot of effort, a lot of hustle, a lot of moxie, he threw only 1 touchdown pass against 5 interceptions. And his rating is like a 52.2. And that just doesn't really fly in Kevin Stefanski's world. Turning the ball over is the quickest way to get yourself benched in a Kevin Stefanski situation. So I think that's one of the reasons why you saw them going back to DTR. It didn't necessarily work out the way that they hoped, but PJ throws too many interceptions, and I do think that they would be inclined to give Jeff Driscoll a chance.
I guess that you could use this game for just that, right? Give them each a half, see what they look like. What can you tell us about Jeff Driscoll for those that aren't familiar with his game and what he looks like?
Well, he's a big guy, so he kind of has some carryover to Joe Flacco. He's an older quarterback. He's been around for a while. He can move pretty well. He's got a decent arm. Again, if you look at his 1-loss record, it will kind of surprise you. He's 1-9 in his 10 starts.
Wow.
But yes, so he doesn't bring a culture of winning necessarily with him. But he has a skill set that translates pretty well to what the Browns are trying to do, and he understands and knows the scheme and the terminology from having worked with Alex Van Pelt. So those are the pluses.
He's almost the opposite end of what P.J. Walker is, because if you look at P.J. Walker's stats, he's a turnover machine. He's almost 2 turnovers for every touchdown. Yet, somehow he has won games that you scratch your head at the end and say, wow, we just beat San Francisco
Yeah.
with B.J. Walker.
I don't think you can look too much at a win-loss record on a short sample size for a backup quarterback. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
tough.
By the way, the league should change the rule because you can only bring up 2 guys from the practice squad each week. I think for the last week of the season, they should make all the practice squad guys eligible to play. This way, you have all those extra guys. Like in baseball, they expand the rosters in September.
That's a good
idea.
idea.
They should do
Paul.
it for the last game or two.
I like that.
They should definitely do that. And while we are talking about NFL rules, I just would love to weigh in for a second on the end of the Cowboys-Lions game. And I just want to say one thing about that real quick. And that is, in this day and age, with this kind of technology available to everyone, there's no way that something like that should happen.
I agree.
And I think the powers that be, they need to put their heads together in the offseason, the competition committee, and everybody needs to find a solution to when a bad call is made, especially at the end of a game, maybe only at the end of the game this could be for. There needs to be a mechanism whereby you can just stop the world and get it right. And I don't know how that's going to work.
I think that's an excellent point. I've had a lot of conversations since the end of that game. Here was an idea that someone threw at me, and I don't remember who it was now, but this might clear a lot of it up. One of the things that was tricky to me was you saw that Decker was standing next to the referee.
Yep.
And 70 was on his way to the referee, but never made it to that point.
Right.
I don't know. It was clearly lost in translation. Is 68 ineligible? I do know this because I heard
Jake,
the
can
audio.
you explain for people in the audience who may not have seen the play? Just explain what happened.
Okay, so at the end of the game, they went for 2. Detroit was down 1. They went for 2. They threw it to Decker, who was
Go Bucks.
who thought he had reported as eligible. He was ineligible, and the 2-point conversion was wiped away. Dallas then ends up losing the game because they don't make Detroit loses the game because they don't make the next 2-point conversion. The point was where it was controversial was who reported. And I think that right now it's the reporting process that's a mess. I think it should be a designated player, whether it's the quarterback or maybe it's the head coach. Only one player or coach can have that conversation with the official. That way there's no 3 guys coming up to the official. And the other thing I didn't like about that play, and I didn't like the way Dan Campbell handled the post-game news conference, he didn't fall on his sword. He said that you can't have 2 players that are eligible. We told them that 68 was going to be the announcement that was made in the stadium, and I've heard the audio.
70.
The referee announced that number 70 is an eligible receiver. They have to do that so the defense is aware of what's going on.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Because of that, Dallas didn't cover Decker.
Right, yeah.
They covered 70. So I almost feel like it was a little gamesmanship by Campbell because he said in the news conference afterwards, I told the officials exactly what we were going to do.
This situation
before the game.
This situation is pretty unique. To Mary Kay's point, just in general, like I don't know that this could have been helped by replay because, like you said,
replay.
But there are a lot of calls that are just being left as wrong,
right?
Because they're not using replay properly. Plus, it's 2023. Why are we still using a chain gang?
I know.
For the first down, it's absurd.
You'd think there would be some technology that could tell you exactly where the tip of the ball ended up at its furthest point.
All these spots.
It's nuts. They'll fix that eventually.
There's a chip in the ball.
To Mary Kay's point, what we have to do is on this issue, we have to clear up the eligibility thing. You had 3 players talking to an official.
Not good.
When the official walked away from Decker, the only thing somehow it was lost in translation. I don't know if Decker said, I'm telling you that number 70 is going to be an eligible receiver. I think there was some trickeration going on where Campbell wanted to confuse Dallas, where he thought that maybe Dallas would see that Decker was talking to the official. So they thought, Decker's reporting as eligible. But then when they announced number 70 was the eligible receiver, they clearly made the adjustment and covered number 70.
By the way, I loved that he went for 2, but once you get the penalty, I would have kicked the extra point.
I'm with you.
Yeah, at that point, I would have. By the way, go ahead, Mary Kay, sorry.
What I was going to say is that issue in and of itself, can be, rectified with a reporting solution. But in general, and Bull, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
In general, in 2023, I mean, the aliens that have come down from outer space have to be laughing at us that we are using that we are not using the technology available to us to get these
Same.
calls right. There is no way in 2023 or 2024 going forward that you should have a situation like this happen where there is human error and it can't be fixed. There needs to be some kind of mechanism, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a big code red button that somebody gets to push and stop the game in real time. Have some eye in the sky call down and say, all right, this was a major F up and we have to fix it right now, because livelihoods depend on game. Histories of franchises can depend on a call like that.
No doubt.
And we have the ability to get this right. And in that moment, somebody should have been able to stop the game and say, let's fix this right now. That was a mistake, and let's get it right. And I don't know why that couldn't happen. I mean, maybe there's no mechanism in place for that to happen right now, but there needs to be going forward. And it's too bad it can't happen before the playoffs, because you can't let something like this happen again.
I agree, Mary Kay, but we just remember, it wasn't that long ago when the Rams and Saints were playing in the NFC Championship game, and it wasn't technology, it wasn't replay, it was human eyes that watched the Saints receiver getting tackled, physically tackled. It was the definition of pass interference.
Yeah.
And the call wasn't made, and they put the Rams in the Super Bowl instead of the Saints. You talk about livelihoods changing. The other thing, too, so the next year they said, okay, now all pass interference plays are reviewable. And almost as a way of saying, F you, when did they ever overturn a pass interference call? Even when it was obvious, they would look at it and say the call stands. And now it's not even reviewable anymore.
There's got to be a guy, there's got to be a sky judge that just, there shouldn't be this is reviewable and this isn't. The sky judge should just get the calls right. If it's an obvious mistake, correct it. If I have to look for 2 minutes, no. 30 seconds, the obvious calls, fix them, that's it. And by the way, one other rule that should be fixed is when you're on offense and you fumble at the 2-yard line, it goes out of bounds. That's the dumbest rule that the other team gets.
It killed the Browns a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a stupid rule.
Yeah.
No, it ain't for the defense.
Yeah.
Love the rule on defense.
Yeah,
but it's so punitive.
Love it as a defensive player. It's the best thing.
I mean, if the ball goes out of bounds right before the pylon, you keep it right there. But if it goes into the end zone, you lose the ball. It's just,
touchback.
All right. That's what it is.
Turnovers.
Mary Kay, Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Happy New Year.
Okay, same to you guys. I'll try to get the tree down.